What is this? I don't know. Wait. Ooh. Ooh!
Well, apparently I ran out of prosperity, so I guess we're using a precious white sage. I just wanted to say hello. Hi. The amount of subscribers has doubled since the last time I filmed, which I'm hyper aware of, and I'm trying not to think of too much because I'm thinking of all the eyes on me. You're good. Don't worry about it though. You keep watching. I'm gonna get over myself. So, because what else would you do when you get some new subscribers? I thought I should do a very controversial video that might make you hate me. Duh. And that is my anti-book recommendations video, where I'm basically telling you a list that is maybe a bit premature in the sense that there's probably more to add, of books that I personally found that kind of disappointed me, or I didn't really click with, or I didn't really like. And with that, I would like to preface this with, please know that this is extremely subjective, extremely unprofessional. Based on how professional my equipment is, it's really not that deep. And yeah, you know, if you get mad, if you get pissed, if I mention one of your favorites, I'm sorry. And if you feel compelled to go into the comments and be mad, by all means, go. I ain't stopping you. But at the very least, tell me why you love the book. If I mentioned it and you love it, tell me why. Tell me why. Now, if I'm gonna be looking down and you can see the lamp, I'm sorry, but I do actually have some notes with this one because it's been made apparent that I talk a bit too slow and maybe I need to write down some ideas a bit more. So yeah, I'm gonna start with the first book, which is one that I finished literally yesterday, and that is Brutes by Dizz Tate. Yes, Dizz Tate. If you see me looking in this direction, I just want you to know I'm looking at the laptop because I have received a bit of feedback that maybe I and talk too slow too much, so I'm trying out to see if people enjoy it more with a bit more planned out stuff. So I'm gonna start you up with a book that I finished quite literally yesterday, and it took me ages to finish. We actually read it for the book club, and I can already sense that everybody has more or less the same opinion. And that book is Brutes by Dizz Tate. Yes, Dizz Tate. Dizz. Stop. Anyway, the book is great at building a world. The book is great at aesthetics. The book is great at picking details and creating an ambiance, I would say, somehow. But the plot is completely inexistent somehow. I don't know how to put it otherwise. The first two chapters, I didn't really understand what I was reading for the most part, and maybe that might just be a me thing. There's also this group of girls that you're following in a lot of the chapters that refer to themselves as we, and it feels like this very culty sort of thing that you're completely outside of. You don't understand what's going on for the entirety of the book. Things happen for them and around them, tragic things, fatal things. It's supposed to be, it's very much, if you've ever seen The Virgin Suicides, the movie, it's very Sofia Coppola coded, but at the same time, it feels soulless, and somehow the key moments always rely on imagery over action, and it also kind of contradicts with how the ending in itself goes, because somehow the narrative tries to get symbolic in a way, and then it doesn't really match the rest of the book. It's just like you have the most coquette and pretty room. Imagine that, and you're on the outside of it. You know there's some secrets in there, you know that, and you can't enter. You get nothing out of it. It's just cold. It really does feel like, in a way, the book kind of decided to solve the mystery through not making sense at all. And you're supposed to find that profound. Might be a me problem, though. Another one, and this one kind of comes as a grouping for me. Again, for the book club. I think when it was just me and one of my best friends when we started it, we read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I have a big bone to pick with Jules Verne. I do not come with that man anywhere near me, okay? It's a me problem. I acknowledge it. I get bored very easily with him. What is that? What are you talking about? Why are you talking about a little river in 10 pages? Which is a great exercise, don't get me wrong, but it's don't publish it, you know? People are screaming outside. I like that. The point is, with this specific book, it's not bad. It's great in its ways. The story is nice. The underwater sequences are great, but very repetitive. Again, the intention, I like it. The characters can be quite fascinating, but there's this weird detachment that kind of makes the moments around them and what happens just lose some of that emotional power. So they just feel like, I don't know, like you're going to the museum. They're just museum descriptions of a species for some reason. And also, there's way too many technical terms, and what are you even doing? I mean, there's sections where the narrative just completely stops dead. So the author can talk about some marine species, and he just goes on for entire pages talking about technical terms that you're not going to understand. Cute. Now, I know this one's gonna get me an interesting reaction out of people, because it gets recommended a lot, and it's actually been recommended by someone and they thought I would really like it, and I never told them how I feel about it, but Sally Rooney, Beautiful World, Where Are You? This is the only one that I've read from Sally Rooney, to be fair, so I'm eager to learn more, because this is a very premature opinion. But this... Oh, by the way, actually, I really appreciate what she did with Palestine, which, unfortunately, that is a very rare thing. This is the society we live in, I guess. But yeah, otherwise, this is just not my cup of tea. And I say that because I know that the story in itself is supposed to be this kind of coming of age, love-adjacent story, and somehow it feels like the most impersonal thing that I've ever read that tries and is supposed to be personal. So there's that. A lot of this book is actually made up of emails, which somehow just turn into these weird philosophy lectures. And okay, we can talk about capitalism, we can talk about, I don't know, the fucking collapse of the Bronze Age, and what do I know, Roman sculptures, whatever it is. But it feels less like an interactions even when you read those, and more like writing a thesis about things. So to put it shortly, while this was supposed to be about 4 characters, somehow it ends up being about ethical talk and political theory, and I don't know, but I'm not necessarily caught by everything. If I wanted to read something like that, I would read something like that. So the expectations were different than what was actually delivered, if you're asking me. And just to be more specific, I feel like there was one pretty big emotional turning point that was... I don't know how to put this other than it was conveyed through the means of talking about climate change. And while I'm a big fan of talking about that, you know, just leaves me a bit high and dry like that. If you've watched my past videos at any point, or you haven't found me in the last few minutes, you knew that this one was coming. What the is this? Again, supposed to be coming of age, love adjacent story with a unnecessary horde of sexualization of women and completely stripping them of any kind of soul. They're just ethereal beings that are untouchable and existing, and the male characters are have this gray moral system. There's no other way to put it, to be very honest with you. There are so many scenes where you question why things were written the way that they were written, because you know that they're trying to probably convey the loneliness of the character. They're trying to convey love. They're trying to convey something. And they choose to do it in the most, no offense, crass, slightly distasteful way. And I'm being nice when I'm saying slightly. To me. Maybe I just get very easily offended by this type of stuff, but what was that? What was the reason? There was none. The next one is technically, I guess, a classic, and that would be The Great Gatsby. I think, to me, it reads like glamour that is completely hollow. There's talk about wealth and high society without any apparent criticism of it. It's almost romanticizing without any particular scope, at least the way that it comes through to me. The characters in themselves have this aura of charm and, again, glamour and aestheticness and glitter that you remember, but you don't actually remember any kind of substance to them. Again, yeah, the book is short, so that kind of saves it in many ways. And again, great at world building, but I don't really get fully what the intention was. I can find the argument for, okay, it's trying to be symbolical and you're supposed to have a mind of your own and critique it. But at the same time, if you're gonna critique the glitz and glamour, at least do so, I don't know, just infiltrate it there slightly, because the way that it comes off is completely embracing it. And I think that that's where it lacks substance for me. This one I'm actually putting in there because it's funny. I don't even know if you're ever going to be interested in this, but in high school I read Metro 2033, I think it's called. And the only reason that I read that is because somebody that I liked really enjoyed the book, and I pretended I liked it and I finished it. I didn't. And I left a post-it and I said, oh yeah, this was an amazing book, thank you so much. Anyways, the book in itself is supposed to be a post-apocalyptic scene where everything happens in the undergrounds of the metro, except the entirety of the book is basically things are supposed to happen, like long scenes where things are supposed to happen walking through dark tunnels and nothing really happens, to be very honest with you. There's also just interesting concepts that are thrown around, but either underdeveloped or I feel like they don't, I don't know, they're just there to be there, like mutants and religious cults and some fascist enclaves, stuff like that. I mean, it's not devoid of any kind of talk that could be interesting, but the protagonist is just a reactive guy that things happen to, and that's it. The entire book is things happening to this guy, and you're just there for the walk with him, I guess. It just feels quite tonal, and there's not much going on for a book that's supposed to be so action-based, I feel like, when you think post-apocalyptic, just saying. If this one doesn't get me some hate, I'll be surprised. White Nights by Dostoevsky. It's a short one, and recommended by so many people as one of the most beautiful love stories and just greatest, most vivid love stories ever. So then tell me why I get fed up every single time with how self-pitying the narrator is. Tell me why I find it so painfully idealistic and toxic. Tell me why I feel like the female character, the love interest, is so underdeveloped. She's purely there to be a muse. She's young, he's not. They meet 2 times, and all of a sudden, this guy says things that you would say after you've known somebody for a lifetime. And I understand the pleasure and the meaningfulness of portraying longing as some kind of transcendence, but it really just, I'm sorry, to me it feels like some kind of book about emotional immaturity, and while I get it, it doesn't really flow with my opinions on things, maybe, and that's just what it is. Maybe I'm just bitter. Sorry. The Republic by Plato. If I needed to hear a guy mansplain about an ideal society and why people like him should be in power, I would go to this book, 1000%. It's full of rigidity, it's full of authoritarianism and beliefs. It's supposed to be built on dialogue, but there's absolutely no dialogue. It's fully a monologue of this Socrates just talking his thing with various different people and getting to the conclusion that he's right. And really the discussion is about censorship and what I believe at this point to be eugenics and, I don't know, some strict class hierarchy that is completely idealized. If this is your philosophy, this is not my philosophy. I'm sorry. Nope. I guess this one's gonna be for my Romanian readers out there. If you've ever read Maitreyi, then I hope you would understand how problematic the book can be. Although it's supposed to be a love story, it's this poor young girl getting exoticized, I guess, by the narrator, and so many of her conversations and actions and words are misinterpreted as confessions of love, and oh my god, just don't. And again, I can understand that this is coming from a modern perspective, but the power imbalance is so hard to get past for me. Again, this might be a me problem and my own limitations in here, but it feels so much less like a love story than, I don't know, the fantasy of a European man getting together with an Indian girl younger than him, and just, she's there, she's cute, she says whatever you want her to say because you're not actually listening to her.
Me editing speaking, I completely forgot to add Agnes Grey to the list. I think it's probably one of the most flat Bronte sisters novels, no offense. I think it's a great moral critique in many ways. I think it represents what it means to be a governess in those times quite well, but the protagonist is so goody two-shoes, so I can't get into it, and the romance is very subtle. to the point where it's almost invisible. So, yeah, sorry, not sorry.
Honestly, there's probably more to the list, but I just didn't think of any more where I feel like I can think of them in recent times and genuinely say, you know what, dude, it's not that I think they're the worst things I've ever read. Hey, I've never read Colleen Hoover. By no means are they bad or the worst things that ever existed. I just would not, in my right mind, recommend them to people. So there's that. Me personally. And there's that. With that, thank you once again so much for watching this video. If you don't hate me, thank you. I don't hate you either. Yeah. Hope you're doing well again. If you feel like donating for some Palestinian families, I still have the links in the description because I know I forgot to put them and I feel very ashamed in the last few videos. So, yeah. Kisses. Hope you enjoyed and see you when I see you. Take care.